Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Journey, a MedPro podcast. We are all familiar with the term work culture. It's often used to define a company's values, practices, and norms. But why is it vital to business success, and how has MedPro's culture enhanced the employee experience? Here to tell us is Stacey Edwards, our Senior Vice President of Marketing and Talent, and the architect behind some of MedPro's most successful programs here at MedPro. Welcome to the show, Stacey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to be here.
You're welcome.
So excited to speak with you. You've been on my list for a little bit for guests, so I'm excited to get into some of these really important topics that we have to talk about today. But before we do, I want to open it up to you for you to share a little bit about yourself, your career path, and what you do here at MedPro.
Got it. Sure. So this is an industry that I got into 8.5 years ago. My background was not in staffing. Let me back it up. I wanted to be a doctor. And I was in my second year of college and realized this isn't going to happen for me. If anybody had a clue what they were saying in that room, I realized I was in the wrong place because it meant nothing to me. I was going to school at UCF, go Knights. And that's obviously a huge entertainment district. We've got Disney, Universal, all the big hotels. And so I got an internship at Universal Studios. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun for me, certainly much better for a 19-year-old kid who was just taking, molecular biology. And so from there, I went straight out of college into the hospitality industry. And I worked for Marriott and Ritz-Carlton for 12 years. I held a lot of different roles in sales and operations. And my last role, I was the director of sales for the Ritz-Carlton in Pentagon City, which is in Arlington, Virginia. And at that time, I had 3 little kids. I was working remotely, and I felt that it was time for a change. I didn't know what that was, but I was itching to do something different. And I was approached by Liz Tonkin, who is our CEO here at MedPro. And she said that, hey, we are thinking about starting a new division. She said, I want you to lead it. I said, okay, I don't know anything about staffing, but I certainly know hospitality. And so she took a chance on me, and I took a chance on MedPro, and I joined MedPro almost 9 years ago. The point at that time was for me to create a program that was very high touch, engaging for our travelers. It was a very saturated market. There's a ton of options for traveling healthcare professionals. And we were a much smaller company at that time, and we were trying to figure out what our niche was going to be and who would define our brand. And so I was brought on to create this program, which today is our MedPro Experience program. And how much more do you want to know? So there's lots to share, but that's what brought me to MedPro.
Amazing. Yeah, so your hospitality experience really drove what we're going to talk about partially, right? This MedPro Experience program, which has been around for some time. Tell me a little bit about the program, both from what it was when it started to maybe what it is now, and why we really have it.
Sure, absolutely. So the program, I started, when I joined MedPro, it was March of 2016, and at that time, I really just had to learn about the business. I knew nothing about staffing. I knew a little bit about healthcare, but had a lot to learn. And so I spent my first few months really understanding this business, getting to talk to people. What are the pain points? What are nurses looking for? And started to get a little bit of a grasp on the business, hired on a small team. Actually, those two ladies are with us still today. One is a director of operations here, and one is our MedPro Experience manager. But we spent about 6 months designing this program. It was really one of the most fun experiences I've had over the course of my career because it allowed me to start from complete scratch and create a program that we felt would really be meaningful to people who were moving halfway across the country, not with their family, working for an organization, but never really, within these 4 walls. They work within the walls of a hospital, as we all know. So got to design that program. We came up with lots of new terminology, from warm welcomes to magic moments. We started calling our what we call explorers today. When I joined MedPro, it was our travelers or our clinicians or our contractors. And I said, who are we talking about? So what are we going to call these people that are so important to us? And ultimately, we landed on the theme of explorers, with the MedPro team being the guides, really like you would have in any travel experience. And so built that program, launched it in early 2017, I guess, maybe late 2016. And at the time, that was really a program that was driven just for our travelers and for our international healthcare professionals. We learned a lot. There was so much that we threw at it at the beginning that, over time we've sort of peeled back a little bit or made, changes. And the program still runs today. It looks different than it did 7-8 years ago, but the program still runs today. We have many explorers or many travelers that still work with MedPro based on this program and the level of service and high touch that they receive from it.
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful program, having been in the seat of a recruiter and having had the opportunity to really utilize this program to make a difference in the lives of the explorers that were working with me, right? Obviously, I'm a firm believer that we each have our individual responsibility in that as a recruiter, but having a program like MedPro Experience gives you the tools to do more, right? And I can tell that it made a difference to a lot of the explorers I spoke to. George was on our podcast last month, and he spoke to that as well, how much of a difference it really makes and the positive feedback that comes back from it, because it is hard going across the country or even going a state over, working in a new place, new environment, leaving what you know behind. I mean, leaving your comfort zone, whatever that comfort zone is, isn't easy. So having MedPro Experience, I know, makes a huge difference.
And it was really fun. I mean, honestly, in the beginning, we were a much smaller company. We had less explorers. We had a smaller recruitment team, and really getting to know our explorers on a very personal level. I look back at some of the things that we did in the beginning, and I've sent people on hot air balloon rides and trikes in the sky and to Beyonce concerts and Dolphins games and all kinds of things to really feel the connection with the city that they were traveling to. I am a big traveler. I love to explore. I think it's one of the best parts of life, truthfully. And so, some of the feedback that we would get from our nurses was that they would go to work and go home, go to work and go home. But you're really missing the element of travel and what it was like to really experience that city. So yes, the program has changed over time, but for me, it's still so important to really make that connection of, yes, you're traveling for the financial impact and the advancement of career, but while you're in a new town, you really should connect to it, learn that city, feel it, and we really want to be there to help that experience.
Yeah, and I think it does go to show that we were much smaller and we have grown tremendously in size, but we have maintained this program, some iteration of it, and the belief on making that personal connection and fostering adventure is still there and has stayed this entire time. And I think that says a lot. So one thing you kind of pointed out is that this started as an external initiative only. So it was something for our explorers, our international healthcare professionals, or foreign educated healthcare professionals, and our domestic travel division. So talk to me a little bit about how it evolved from there.
Sure. So let me start by saying that MedPro was an organization that even when I joined, 8.5 years ago, really I felt a unique culture even at that time. There were things that we did that I was coming from, like I mentioned, a big corporate company, and I was really shocked, like, wow, what is this place? Did I just step into Disneyland? What is this? But one thing that I think after launching the MedPro experience for our healthcare professionals, it became very evident that, wow, we're doing so much to create these unique personalized experiences for our field staff. But what about the people that are inside these walls making it happen? I would say it was really exacerbated during COVID. We were, an essential business, and we were home for a few weeks, but we really were back in the office very soon after the pandemic started. And it was important to us for people to feel that sense of connection and community and want to come to work when so much of their lives were really unknown, right? We had people dying. We had healthcare professionals dying, friends, family. It was a very, very trying time, and it was super critical for us at that point to make this as safe as possible place for our employees. Yeah. So really over time, particularly I would say amped up over the past 4 or so years, is the MedPro experience here in our office. And I'll tell you, the company that I come from, which is Marriott, it really was a wonderful company and set the foundation for a lot of who I am today as a professional and as a person. And one of the things that always sticks with me, which is what I've tried to carry over here, is one of the philosophies of JW Marriott and the founders of Marriott Hotels and Resorts, was that if you take care of your associates, they will take care of our customers. And the same thing reigns true here at MedPro. If we take care of our staff, then their desire and their satisfaction and willingness and want to take care of their customers, which in turn are the nurses, it's just a much easier, natural flow of things. And so that's really what I've tried to bring here as well, and create a very unique culture for employees to come to work every day.
Yeah, one thing we talk about in, when we meet our new hires and all of that is the reality is we spend so much time here. We spend more time with people that we meet in the office and more time at work than we really spend anywhere else in terms of awake time, right? And knowing that the place you're going and spending all this time at is a place you want to go to is really important and so invaluable, because going to work miserable every single day for 8 to 10 hours is awful. It's draining.
Yes.
So to your point, if that's the mindset or if that's the feeling, then of course whatever comes out, whether it's a nurse or an allied health professional, if the person behind that, inside these four walls, is unhappy or unappreciated or unfulfilled,
it comes through.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that it has had a positive impact on me as an employee, but I want to talk a little bit more about what that actually looks like here inside these four walls.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that we have a very deliberate approach to our culture. We always say that our most important assets go home at night, and we try to live that every single day. And we really try to dig deep on what's important to our employees. And so what's been important in the past or what resonated in the past doesn't mean that resonates today. So we're actually in the middle of a cultural transformation, as we know. And so for me, it's really about two pillars. The first is having fun. For me personally, I love to have fun. It brings joy to my life. I like to laugh. That comes through at work as well. And I want the employees to feel that. I actually had a conversation with a brand new employee the other day. I told you this earlier, and I told her, look, what you're going to see from me, I'm always going to be myself. So some days that's goofy, other days that's serious. I want the same thing from you. Whoever you are, that's who I want you to be at work, and we want to be able to really invest in you to bring the best out of you. So from a having fun standpoint, I mean, we have a fun committee, and that group gets together and we come up with all kinds of fun and crazy ways to have a great time here at work. We have a program which we call MedPro Madness, and every week there's something going on in the office where employees can earn incentive dollars, where they have the opportunity to win huge prizes at the end of the month, like TVs and $500 gift cards and all kinds of things to motivate employees. We've got different a trip that we do every year to bring everyone together. We've done sporting events through the years. Competition is huge here at MedPro. And honestly, my first year joining here, Halloween, I was like, whoa, I don't even like Halloween, but I guess I'll get down with this. And Halloween's a huge thing here. And so having fun at work and really creating a place where people feel that they can be themselves and express themselves is super important to me. The other piece of it is the philanthropy and giving back. We are an organization that has been exceptionally fortunate to be successful over the years. We continue to grow and grow and grow, and people have seen a big financial upside to working here, and we know that that's not the case everywhere. And so going back several years, we launched MedPro Gives. That program has evolved over time, and today there's so much that we do to give back to the community, whether it's here locally in South Florida on a national scale, or even most recently overseas for our international division. A few years ago, I started a program here with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Broward County. We had been very accustomed to giving back to the community from a financial standpoint, whether that was through food drives or different charitable initiatives, but we had never really rolled up our sleeves and given back in that manner. And so we started this program. We're going on our 4th year. It starts in a few weeks. And for the course of the school year, we bring in 30 to 40 kids from a underprivileged school here in South Florida and mentor them on what it's like to prepare for life after high school. And we allow any employee in this organization to join that program and spend several hours a month during working time with those kids. And I don't think you see that everywhere, right? And so that's just one of many different things that we do. But I would say when you look at some of those sort of those intangibles about MedPro, that's really what I would say are the most important, are the aspects of having fun and giving employees the ability to give back, because when you give back, you naturally feel good about it,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And I know that with the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, yes, people were very excited to give back, which was fantastic, but I don't think that they realized, me included, I've been a Big now, this is my 4th year, what it meant to you and what you walked out of there, and you having your own perspective on your own life of, wow, I don't have it so bad. Or, coming home and telling my kids, hey, let me tell you what I learned today. You think you've got it bad, let's hear what's going on in other people's lives. So those programs are really important to me, and that's something we really try to foster here at MedPro.
Yeah, I think a lot of our initiatives on the MedPro Give side, right, they give perspective and purpose. Obviously, coming to work and working, that's such a big part of life. And I hope for everyone that does work here that this somehow aligns with what your purpose is. And maybe it takes a while to find it, and MedPro does a good job of helping out with that process. But going to those events, whether it's Big Brothers Big Sisters or our Fort Lauderdale Turkey Trot or Light the Night that we're getting ready to kick off with Leukemia Lymphoma Society, it does do those two things. It's perspective and it's purpose, and it's the joy of giving back. And when you're in a privileged position, that is very, very fulfilling. And I personally value that a lot, that MedPro has that side of everything, in addition to all the fun and craziness like Halloween.
Yeah. And the great thing about it, truthfully, is that I've never been in a position where, when it comes to the two pillars that I just spoke about, whether it's give back or having fun, I've never had to do a hard sell to my leadership team. In fact, my leadership team is asking me for more. What are we going to do? What's different? What's the next thing that we can bring to the employees? And having that support is huge, right? Because I could have all the ideas in the world, our MedPro Gives and Fund Committee, we could have all these ideas, but if they weren't supported by our leadership, it would fall flat. But I'm very fortunate to have that full support of my CEO, my CFO, that really want to continue to invest in this culture here at MedPro.
Yeah. And I do think some of it ties back to their own experiences and their own beliefs and values. I know for Liz, one big thing it comes back to a lot is patient care. And I find that incredibly valuable, because it's easy when you're 2-3 steps removed to forget that that's at the end of it, right? But it is, and it's so important to what we do here at MedPro. While we're still on MedPro experience as it relates to internal, I know we have the pitch, and we just had some winners. So I would like you to share a little bit about what sparked that in the first place, and how has that evolved, and where do you see it going?
Yeah. What sparked that was...
And what it is.
Was Shark Tank. I was, sometimes when you can't sleep at night, you're perusing the channels, and I sometimes watch Shark Tank, and some of the ideas that we're, bringing forth, and I started thinking, wow, like, this is something that we do at work in a way. I was thinking about the panels and all the different contests that we do with the judges panels. And I thought, there's something missing here. We're not hearing from the employee. We are open-minded, but I think there was an element to, okay, the employees are the ones doing the job. And if we don't hear from them directly on where how we can make an impact, what are the things that need to change for the business to advance, it's a miss on our part. And so I did come back and spoke with leadership. I said, what about this idea of like a MedPro Shark Tank? And they immediately bought into the concept, and we launched our first, what we call the pitch, last year. And thank you, Miss Vanessa, was part of the original pitch group, and why we're sitting here today. Journey was her pitch, and thank you for bringing that forward. And yeah, we did just do our second pitch. We had, 7-8 participants. We ended up selecting 4 pitches. And, it's something I really love and something I look forward to. One, I think that it gives our employees the opportunity to have a platform right? It's not often that they have the opportunity to stand in front of a room of 10 executives and speak to how they can improve the business. And so I think not only is it great for us to hear from the employees and hear, okay, let's get a real pulse of what's going on in the organization, but also it gives them that platform to really shine and let us see them in a different light than maybe we do on the everyday. So I'm really proud of that program. I think it's a lot of fun for the employees. And truthfully, the fact that we implement a lot of the ideas, it's important. And so it's a program that I do want to continue with for many years to come.
Love that. I'm excited.
You gonna do it again?
I'll put it on my list. But yes, kind of speaking on this whole providing a platform, right? That's one thing I have seen multiple times throughout my tenure here at MedPro, and whether that is the pitch or surveys, you name it, right? We are very open to feedback and open to implementing change and to evolve as an organization. And that goes both from internal feedback as well as external. So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about something that we implemented. I think it was a couple years back maybe, but the Travel Nurse Advisory Council.
Sure, just about a year ago, actually.
Oh, wow, it feels
longer.
longer than
It does
that.
feel longer, but yeah, just about a year ago. So similar to what I was just speaking to in regards to the employee voice, there, yes, we do surveys to our explorers, and we get written feedback and anecdotal feedback along the way. But the industry has really changed so much, and anybody who's in this space knows that. We are in a different world than we were in pre-COVID, a different world that we were in the middle of the pandemic. And we really needed the opportunity to hear from our explorers, right? We needed the ability to hear directly from those that are working in the field on what's going on. And so we had this idea and came up with the Travel Nurse Advisory Council and the President's Circle that's associated to it. So every quarter we have a group of people, it's about 250 people that are on our Travel Nurse Advisory Council that are all nurses. Not necessarily travel nurses, not necessarily MedPro nurses, but that makes it even better, right? Because I don't necessarily need to hear just from MedPro nurses. I need to hear what's going on in the industry as a whole. And so we do survey them, and then we take that feedback and we tally it up and put it into pretty graphs and meet with a group of people on a live video conference call. And we do that for 90 minutes every quarter. And it really has been impactful. And the reason that I say that is, oftentimes you can sit in these four walls and with the smartest people and think that you have every great idea in the world. But if it doesn't resonate with the people that you are working with, it's all for nothing, right? Yeah. So they have helped to validate, to debunk, and help us move forward with our innovation and things that we're working on, whether that's the different technology platforms that we have been either working on or looking at, whether it's the way that our packages are built or the different markets that we're going into, or quite frankly, what they're seeing in the hospitals, right? What does their experience as a traveler look like? What does a traveler-friendly facility even mean anymore? And so I do value that time. It's something that we look forward to, and actually we are having our final session of the year in November, and I'm really excited to talk to those nurses because once again things look different even than it did 3-4 months ago. So it is an investment that we've made. It's a time investment, it's a financial investment, but it's something that we believe in and that we'd like to continue to expand upon, not only for nursing but also for our allied professionals as well.
Yeah, I love that. We do survey, right, all of our explorers, and we take those surveys very seriously because at the end of the day, similar to how we want to make sure that the people inside these four walls are happy, fulfilled, and doing their best, and in turn supporting our explorers accordingly, we want to make sure that our explorers are feeling that same support, that we're doing what we want to be doing, right? That we're meeting and exceeding those expectations. Yeah. Because ultimately, if they're feeling that way, if they're feeling supported and happy and joyful, they're going to give that to their patients in turn, right? And so our surveys are something that we talk about quite a bit, right? Every staff meeting, it's something that we get notified on. But with this, the fact that we are opening it up to people outside of MedPro, I think says a lot, right? Because, and especially not just travelers, because the healthcare industry is changing, right? Thinking back to one of our first episodes, you know, when we spoke with Emmy, the nursing career has diversified so much in recent years. There are so many different things you can do as a nurse. And so if we were to limit ourselves to just to this travel pool, we're missing on so many other avenues, whether that is, you know, triage care, virtual care.
Right,
So all
there's
this,
so many different perspectives, and
yeah.
even if some of like we've had a few nurses on our president's circle that don't travel, but they did travel or they work alongside travelers, and so I think having a holistic view of what's happening in the hospitals is important, right? It can't just have one perspective, and so we have been selective but very open-minded to the group of people that we have on this panel.
Yeah. What would you say have been some of the biggest takeaways if you think back to the first session to the most recent? What's been something that maybe stayed the same, and what's been something that changed and you maybe weren't expecting that?
That's a great question. I don't know how much has really changed. It's again, it's only been a year. What I'll tell you has changed dramatically is when I first joined MedPro and we did a really extensive survey to thousands of travel nurses, and what we learned then versus what we learn now. What we learned then, and really the reason that I'm sitting here today, is that at that time, this high touch, I'm not just a number experience is really what people were looking for at that time. Today, a lot of what I'm hearing from the nurses that we speak to is that they know they're in demand and the money is very, very important. And that wasn't the case. Yes, of course, money is always important. But, 8 years ago when we surveyed this population, it wasn't the number one driver. And today what I'm seeing, it is the number one driver. The other thing that I think has been interesting to me is there's been a big push for technology in this industry. I believe that you had a podcast with Dan a few times ago, and I'm like, oh, when was that? And technology, particularly during the pandemic, the Uberization of staffing, that was really on the rise. And we have our app, the MPX Plus, and we're working to improve that. What's interesting to me is that as much as technology has become a piece of this space, the relationship with the recruiter is still so important at some level. So even those nurses that we've spoken to as part of our council, some have had a recruiter-less experience or use the technology platform as opposed to going through a traditional agency. But then there are absolutely times during that assignment where they need to speak to someone. And it may not be called a recruiter, but there is someone in the background to support them. And I think as we move forward and look at our technology solution, we certainly want, the ability to appeal to the person that just wants technology. I am that person, right? If I don't have to pick up my phone all day, I will happily not do so. But there's people that they want to talk to somebody. And so I think what we're looking to do, and what's really helped us through the Travel Nurse Advisory Council and President's Circle, is have solutions for different personas, right? It's not a one size fits all. So sure, you have that person that wants a recruiterless experience. Let's have the best experience for that person. You want somebody who really needs that recruiter. Let's make sure that we have top-notch service and a top-notch program for that explorer. So that has been helpful to hear from the nurse's perspective, because I think we were going down one route that had we not taken that into account, we may have made some different decisions.
Yeah, I love that. It speaks to this ability to pivot, right? Not based on what we think is best,
right,
but based on the feedback that we're getting from the people where it matters, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I love that. Okay. To kind of put a bow on things, if you had to describe MedPro's culture as a whole, so external and internal, in 3 words. Sorry, I know it's cliche. But in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Okay. I would say nimble. You want me to give definition or just
No,
words?
I got you.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. I would say nimble, genuine, and fun.
Yeah. And what's been your favorite part about working here?
Oh, goodness. Truly, I say this all the time, and going back to genuine, I genuinely mean this. Not every day is great, right? Like there are days here where I want to rip my hair out just like anyone else, but this has been truly the best decision I've ever made in my professional career, was joining MedPro. I feel that not only have I grown professionally, I've grown personally. There's just so much that I've been exposed to that has opened my eyes to a lot of things. I feel that I'm a better person from being here. I've learned so much that it would be really hard to say, what's the one thing that keeps me here, or what do I love most about MedPro. But it's a family, and it's a truly unique place to come to work every day. I'll tell you, before I worked here, I worked from home for almost 10 years. It's a very long time to be home and then come back into an office environment. And you're giving up a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom, right, to come into an office every day. But I will tell you, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, I love to come to work. I don't want to work from home. I love coming in and seeing my team, everybody's faces every day, and really being able to connect with people. I love the agility of being around you all and being able to make quick, nimble decisions and really get to the nuts and bolts of things very quickly. So as much as I loved working from home all those years, this environment, I don't know if it would be elsewhere, but coming to work in this environment, despite giving all that freedom and flexibility up, I don't miss it for 1 second. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah. And it says a lot about what you're so passionate about, right?
Yeah.
Is making sure that everyone else feels that way too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wonderful. Stacey,
Vanessa,
thank you so much
You're welcome.
for taking the time.
Thank you so
We really
much.
appreciate it. And maybe there'll be a part 2 at some point down the road.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.